recording in progress or something.
Recording is
Yeah,
on.
that's it. Yeah.
Okay. So, as a manifesting generator, I will tell you something that is not said in many human design readings because it's not universally agreed upon. I don't think we're here to respond. I know that's what it says in the strategy. I'm a manifesting generator as well. I have the
Yeah.
3420 channel exactly like you.
Right.
I don't think we're here to respond, and I will tell you why. This knowledge came through Ra Uruhu, as you might know,
Yeah.
and he downloaded it in somewhere 1980s, at the beginning of 1980s, 1983 or 1982, I forget.
Mm.
But anyway, at the beginning, for the first 13 years, because he came in 96, in 1996, he came up with the types and with the strategies. For 13 years, human design functioned under the, the premise of if you have some channels, you have a design to wait, a design to respond, and if you have other channels, you have a design to initiate, to start.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the only two options: wait to respond or initiate. After 13 years, he made the whole thing about profiles, and many people go directly against him because when they put in the profiles and the strategy and authority, basically it divided human design into right and wrong, right? Like the church, sinful,
Yeah.
righteous.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
divided it because you either operating correctly, you're listening to your strategy, or you're operating incorrectly, you're not listening to your strategy. Is no longer about the mechanics, it's no longer about the channels. The initial way in which human design was presented was if you have a motor connected to the throat, which is your sacral, it's a motor center connected directly to the throat through the 3420, you have a design to initiate. Now, why I don't believe that, because most of human design readers will tell you you have a design to respond, you have a sacral active, you are a generator, so you're here to respond. Why I don't believe in that? Because as a 3420 myself, I know we go from inactive to active in a split of a second. There's
Very
no time
quickly.
to
Yeah.
respond.
Yeah.
We are super fast in, that's the thing that I can say most about manifesting generators. We are super fast. Now the issue with being super fast is that we usually skip steps and we might
Yeah.
have to redo stuff. That's a little bit of a problem because sometimes we can't even figure out what steps we missed.
We just sort of see, oh yeah, no, we have to do this, and I'm not like, oh yeah. People, of course, can't keep up, or they. I mean, what was it on? I'm trying to think. There was something like, because I also do Mayan astrology, and it also said the same on there about you. I'd go really quickly, and I sort of like it just sort of comes to me really quickly, and I just get on with it. So it was similar. Yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly. And the thing is, um, we go from zero to action instantly and we don't stop until it's done. It's like the engine keeps on going. And
Yeah, it's like a
sometimes,
dynamo. So the more I do, if I sit around, I get tired and lethargic. So the more I do, the more energetic I become.
exactly. And also, the downside of this is the fact that we sometimes only realize that we missed steps when we're done. Building a whole IKEA thing, and at the end of it, you'll remain with one screw and like, where the hell does this go? Where didn't I put it? What happened? But that's us, and we have to make peace with the fact that sometimes we might miss steps, sometimes we might have to redo things. That's just the way it is. And also, we're not people, especially you as a 3-5, you're not a person who does one thing at a time. You're a
No.
multitasker by
Yeah,
default.
yeah,
and you don't have a profession that's only one, like one thing in your
Yeah, yeah.
business
So
card.
I've been in early years for like 40 years. So I've covered all areas of early years, which is from 0 to 5. I've worked till 0 to 8, really. But I've done whatever there is for children from 0 to 8, I've done it. So,
I, yeah, I've done it too. I've been in early years for 11 years.
right. Yeah.
I've been in Montessori environment.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine's a lot more, mine's very much based on Reggio, Steiner. It's basically how it's just using natural things and resources and using nature as my curriculum and things like that. So that's my basis
Oh,
of teaching
really
the kids.
nice.
I'm basically
Holistic,
outside all the time with the kids.
very
Yeah,
holistic, very nice.
yeah,
So now the 3420 also has a tone, which is useful when you're working with the kids because you don't have to shout.
yes.
We have a tone that bothers people. It's an authoritative tone. With the kids, it helps, but when you use it on adults, they get easily triggered, probably, like you're talking to them in a certain tone. We
Mm.
can't really help it. It's a tone that's intrinsic. The 34, it's the sovereign, so it demands authority. It doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to over assert itself. But when you're using the tone, the whole room knows that you're using the
Oh
tone.
yeah, yeah. The kid they used to laugh at me in the schools and things. It was like I had the look. I just had to look at a child, and they'd be like, "Oh, okay." Or I even now the way I just like talk really quietly to the kids, but I say it. I've been stopped by parents even in parks, and they were like, "Oh my God, your kids just listen to you," because I childmind now, so I work from home. And some parents have come up, and even one said to me, "I actually got their child to apologize of hurting my child," and she said, and I just would talk really nicely, but I do it that I believe that that child's going to do it. If you understand what I mean,
Yes, yes.
I know, of course, that child's going to do it. And this child came up and hugged my child, this little one I was looking after, and said, "I'm really sorry." And she looked at me gobsmacked and said, "How the hell did you get my child to say sorry?" She's like, "Crazy thing." She said, "She's just like butter in your hands." And I just explained about how I am, and then I explained to kids, and we talk about our feelings, and I'm very much into self-regulation, and we talk about. And she was actually a publisher. It was really weird. She said, "You should write a book, Sharon." She said, and it's not the only person that said that. This is what I'm wondering whether this is a possibility for my future. I've got so many ideas, and also I've done like work trying to help parents, like almost like
Me too.
maybe I should start a consultancy or something. Just I've done night. I can get any child to sleep. I've never ever not been able to get a child to sleep. Um,
Same.
and it's just to have this touch, and I've had it since the age of 10. I used to babysit kids. I'd put them to bed at the age of 10. So
Same.
it's just something else that maybe I need to think about doing. I've been doing this a
Yeah,
long time.
working with parents is interesting. It's rewarding. I started working with kids. I was working with kids from orphanages at the beginning. Then I worked with parents, helping them manage their kids. And then I started working in Montessori. And while I was working in Montessori, I was still working with parents. And I stopped
Okay,
in
yeah,
2020. I stopped in 2020 because of,
right,
yeah.
yeah. It's anyway.
Yeah. So, um, getting back to the 3420, it's on your unconscious. So you have gate 20, which is the gate of the now, which is the one that's connected to the throat twice in your unconscious. You have it in Mercury and you have it in the sun. So, having a
Right.
throat neck in Mercury, that means you have a very clear way of communication. But that
Mhm.
also means that you can't plan what you're going to say. It's the gate of the now. It's
Yeah.
unconscious. So, for example, you have to hold a speech in front of somebody. For you, it's much more helpful to have a couple of lines so you know the points that you want to hit than to have a speech in front of you because you're going to get lost in the speech.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. Yeah. I'd rather just do it ad lib and just say it will just flow. Yeah.
Yeah, it will just flow. Exactly. It's the gate of the now. It's unconscious. It's going to flow naturally. And the more natural you're going to get, the more clear you're going to get. Because the 3420 is also the channel of the talk show host.
Yeah. That's what my astrology also said. I'm a good communicator. Um, so I think, but I've never ever done anything like that. I mean, I've never ever stood up and talked about anything. Um, so that's, yeah. But they keep, I've seen the same thing written about me. Yeah.
So, to give you a clear idea, what you could do is exactly what you said about parents, about helping parents, but doing it in form of a podcast. You can just film videos and put them on YouTube. You have that channel that can do that. You
Yeah.
can do that naturally and just film yourself speaking and put them there. And I don't know, subscriptions or whatever to get monetized. But that's a very easy thing for you to achieve. Now,
Yeah.
the other part is the 6447, your head to ajna connection, and the 4323 ajna to throat connection. You have the connections here. So the 64, I mentioned them both together because
Yeah.
uh, they kind of stream from the head to the throat. So your ideas from the head get directly manifested, expressed to the throat. But there's an inconsistency there. Why? Because the 6447 is part of the collective experiential circuitry, and it looks at the past, is trying to make sense of experiences from the past. So you're going to be very well known in facts and history and experiences, and you will be able to talk very eloquently from experiences. But the 4323 doesn't do that. The
Oh,
4323 is about self empowerment. It's about empowerment, not self empowerment. The 3420 is self empowerment. So
so just
4323,
empowerment. Yeah.
empowerment, yes. And this channel says, I know. So the 6447 ideas coming from your mind is, I gotta make sense of this. And then the throat channel says, I know. So what might happen is a bit of feeling within you that you have to know more, that you have to be certain, that you have to confirm what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So it might get you stuck when you have to present something in making sure that it's factually correct, because that's
Yeah.
where the 6447 will drive you. Because the 4323 wants to say, I know. It needs to say facts. It's empowerment. It's um, if you look at any, I don't know if you've seen any on YouTube or something, if you look at videos from Human Design by Ra Uruhu had the 4323 channel, and you're gonna hear in every single video him saying, I know, I know this, I know this. This is a very common phrase that the
Right.
4323 keeps passing it around. I know, you know.
Right.
The 4323 is also considered to be the freak to genius. So some people will perceive you as a freak, and some people will perceive you as a genius. And it's not up to you. It's not depending on what you talk about, it's not depending on how you express it, it's depending on how they hear you.
Yeah. It's how they perceive it, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and some people will see you as an absolute genius and will take your insights as truth no matter what. They won't research on their own, they will completely rely on your research. And some people will consider you as a freak because it will sound so crazy that it's completely out of their even view. The
Yeah, yeah.
4323 being individual circuitry also brings in a certain mutation. It's a bit of newness, something that people don't usually hear. Your ways are a bit different than other people.
Okay. Right. So people just aren't used to it, like you're saying.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And
So they're
sometimes,
not sure how to take it.
yes. And sometimes what you might experience is the fact that at the beginning they perceive you as a freak because it brings in that mutation and it's uncomfortable for them and it's completely new. But as you planted the seed and that seed starts to germinate in them, after a time they will come for more advice, for
They'll
more
come and ask.
information.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because this is what happens on the, I'm on a colleagues group with early years. So there's about 120 of us in this group. And I've noticed, I've only been in it since I moved to this area. So we're talking 3 years, 4 years max now. And obviously at the beginning, I was didn't know and didn't things. And now it's quite interesting. I'll get messages, private messages. Oh, what do you think about this, Sharon? What do you think about that? What would you do? And a lot of people are like, oh no, ask Sharon. And I'm like, well, I don't actually know. But they're like, no, Sharon will know. No, I don't know whether I do. But she's like, no, you always seem to know what to do or what to say. Or I've done it for, basically fought the authority on behalf of them and won. And I'm trying to do it again at the moment. And it's just, I'm really against authority big time. So that's one thing about me.
Yeah.
And so for the people as such. So yeah, they message me, oh yeah, well, you do this, because I like doing a bit foraging, I like doing health, I'm totally make my own remedies, my own herbal, and so people now are starting to, and they'll also ask me about the kids, but they'll ask me about the herbal remedies, what I would recommend, and they'll ask me what they should do in this scenario. So yeah, I've noticed on this group that that's what's happening to me, and I'm like, well, you don't even know me that well.
Yes, but you see, the thing is, whenever you think I don't know, uh, the 3420, the unconscious channel will just pick up. You won't know if you know the answer until you're actually answering. That's the weird part about it.
Right.
While you're talking, many times this will happen
Yeah.
to you because it happens to me too. I have it
It
unconscious as
literally
well.
comes in your head and you're like, oh my God, where did that just come from? Yeah.
I hear myself speaking and I'm like, this
Yeah.
was for me too. Okay, this was for me too. I needed to hear that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Because somebody, I was writing to somebody and I wrote something and then I looked at it. I'm like, what? I didn't write that. Where the hell did that come from? And I swear I hadn't even thought. It literally I just wrote it down and then I looked at it. I was like, what? I haven't got a clue where that just came from. That didn't come from my mouth. Honestly, it was really weird. It was like somebody said, oh, maybe you just channeled something. I don't know. I said, that's not me. That wasn't, it just literally came out of me. And that was only a few months back. And I was like really surprised.
That's gonna happen consistently with the 3420. That's how it
Right.
works, basically.
So that's the 3420. Ah, I see. Yeah.
That's a completely unconscious. Now, on the 3420, you can see here the gate 10 is in black. It's connected with the 3420, and it's black right over here. Let me show you like this. Here it is.
Oh, right. Down the bottom. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
At the right, connecting with this red one. Everything that's red is unconscious. Everything that's black is conscious.
Ah, okay.
So the gate 10 is connecting with these two unconscious gates. And it's creating a very interesting thing because gate 10 is the gate of self love. And if we're looking at the channels it forms, the 1020 is the channel of awakening. which means you can quite literally awaken spiritually spontaneously. You don't need an event from outside.
Hmm.
Many people, something happens to them and they get the spiritual awakening. People with a 10-20, they don't need that. Probably you'd had, I don't know, lucid dreams or stuff like this,
Yeah,
things that
so I
awaken.
mean, I grew up just being able to know and see spirits, and then after I had a really horrendous marriage, very abusive and stuff. So I managed to escape that from like meditation. Then I went into Reiki healing, and then I realized I started to be able to do things. Like, I mean, I was doing it came and it went, but I just started doing light language, um, writing, automatic writing, and all these things sort of started coming to me and flowing to me. And then I realized, then I found out I could talk to animals, um, and all of these things suddenly just sort of happened. It was like, after the divorce and everything, all these things started happening to me.
Yes,
Um,
for the 10-20, the awakening is called the channel of awakening. The awakening happens spontaneously, and your gate 10 is in the moon. So, in the conscious moon. So, that is
right,
directly connected to how you access your emotions and intuition. So when you drop into your emotionality, you don't have to have, I don't know, a dark night of the soul or a massive spiritual awakening. Whenever you drop into silence, you're basically there. Like you said, it just happens. It's not like something outside happening. It's just from
right,
within.
okay.
And also, you have a very interesting cross of incarnation. The cross of incarnation is right here.
Hmm.
The gates that form sun, earth, unconscious, sun, earth, conscious. I'm
Sun
gonna
of conscious.
I'm gonna show it to you. This is the cross of
Oh,
incarnation. Okay, so it's 3420. This is your unconscious cross of incarnation, and it's 5559, the conscience. All right, and this is a cross, like you can see, and this is your cross of incarnation, which is basically the reason you incarnated. And the cross of incarnation, your cross of incarnation is the sleeping phoenix.
right.
And I'm going to tell you why it's interesting. It's interesting because the whole world is stepping into this cross of incarnation in 2027, so in 2 years' time.
Wow. Okay.
So,
But I already have it, so I was born into that.
yes, you were born into that, and
What number
the
was it again? 20. Well,
2034 on the unconscious, the
yeah.
2034 channel we've been discussing about, and 559 on the conscious side, which I'm going to explain them right now to explain you the cross of incarnation. So the
Mm.
sleeping phoenix is very interesting because it basically says that you, as long as you are busy, you are sleeping. The moment you slow down, you are awakened spiritually. It's not that busyness is bad. Like I said, as a manifesting generator, you're gonna be busy. But the
Yeah.
moment you slow down, you're awakened. You're no longer in the, let's say, 3D Maya. You are aware of things, you're seeing things. And the sleeping phoenix says that the phoenix is sleeping and it has wake to wake up in order to die and be reborn, which is very reminiscent of the story you shared with your marriage.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of things happened after it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It has to wake up, do something, like you got out of that marriage and you were reborn. A lot of things happened immediately after.
Yeah. Definitely.
It's exactly the cross of incarnation, and this is what collective, the whole collective, will pass through starting from 2027. We're going to see a lot of selfishness at the beginning because most of the
Of
population
course.
will be deeply asleep and they will
Yes.
have to wake up to be reborn. But the people like you who already have this, who were born into this, they are pretty much like, guides into how it works when everybody's freaking out that they're going through it. They're going through the awakening, let's say, because
Yeah.
you had to leave the marriage. Everybody has to go through something. You would be able to tell them that it's not the end of the world, that it's just the beginning, actually.
Well, this is what I keep on telling people. I said, I've never been worried about everything that's going on. I have a deep knowledge that everything's going to turn out fine. I am so super positive about it and so confident that I said, just bear in mind, we're just going through this at the moment. Everything has to collapse in order to be reformed. And that's what I keep on telling people, because they're like, oh, but look at this, what's happening. Look what's, I'm like, stop looking at the news. Stop looking at everything that's going on. I said, you need to look ahead and look at what will happen and what is coming to you, and be the positive. And I've had that. I just have this knowing that everything is going to be wonderful. And obviously, some people want to believe it, but of course, they're still kind of like, oh well, oh, I don't know, but look what's this, and look what's going to happen there. I'm like, I don't even look at that. I just look at the end goal, which is um,
That's
I just have the sense that everything's fine. Yeah.
that's a very healthy way to work. I'm gonna explain to you later why. I just want to explain to you these two gates. The
Mm-hmm.
59, they're part of your incarnation cross. That's why I'm explaining them.
Right.
The,
Okay.
the 59 is the beginning of the uh, emotional process. Without the 59, usually connecting with the 6, there's no emotional process. It usually, the 59 6, you don't have the 6, so you don't have the full
Yeah.
channel. So you're gonna attract a lot of people with 6. I'm gonna explain to you
Ah,
how they look like. But
okay.
without the 59 6, there would be no emotional awareness, let's say. The 59 6 contains all the waves. So when you meet somebody, the 59 is very open. It's very vulnerable. It's very easy for you to be honest. It's actually easier for you to be honest than to
If
lie.
I Yes, that's exactly me. I say with my new partner, and he said, "Well, sometimes you're a bit blunt, Sharon." I'm like, I says, I have to be honest. I have to tell the truth. I says, it's literally, I feel like something bubbles up inside me, and if I try and hold it back, it's like gets stuck in my throat, and I feel really uncomfortable. So I have to say it. And a lot of people say, "Well, you just say it as it is, Sharon." I'm like, "Yeah." She says, "But can you just be a bit more diplomatic?" I'm like, "That's really hard for me."
Yes, it is very hard for you. One, because of this gate, and the 6 is people who are usually looking for conflict. Gate 6 is literally called the gate of conflict. And gate 59 wants to bridge that conflict with vulnerability, because that's how you diffuse a conflict, with
Yeah,
vulnerability and truth.
yeah,
You don't hype the conflict, but this gate creates friction. And what's funny about it is that it's not only the start of the emotional wave, it's also the part of us that creates the whole move to conceive. The 59 6 is the reason we conceive kids, like the sexual urge to make other babies.
yeah,
And on a conflict, it's very funny to me, because the how can I say, the keynotes match both emotionality, both truth, both conflict and sexuality, because it says there's no growth without friction.
yeah, yeah. I totally agree with that. Yeah, that's why I told my partner, because his wife had died and he had gone through a lot of stuff, and he was basically abused from her as well. He had a really shit life, and then we got together, and I told him, like, you've got so much growing to do and so much you have to do, but only you can do it. And you need to go and have therapy. If this relationship's going to work, you need to go and have therapy. You need to work on yourself. I'm not your therapist. And it caused a lot of ructions, problems. But he went into therapy and stuff like that. But then he stopped. And then I told him, okay, so we've had a break. We had about 4 or 5 months. I says, okay, I'm ending it. because you need to work on yourself. I'm not your therapist and I'm not here to do that. It's an unhealthy relationship. So I've helped him grow so he is now become a so much better person. He's completely different to the person I met. But he was in a bad state because I said, well, I'm sorry, I'm not here to heal you. You have to do that yourself. I'm here for you, but you're going to have to put in all that work. So, it's it's like but like you say, a bit of conflict because I know what he needs to do. I can see it. I can't explain it. I just told him, I know what you need to do, and I can see straight through you almost. And this is what you need to do. But of course, sometimes they don't want to hear, do they?
Yes, yes, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
I think we live with the same person. Gate 55. Abundance is strictly a question of the spirit. So, gate 55 is a gate. It's sometimes called the gate of abundance and sometimes called the gate of spirit. It goes through both names. But basically, gate 55 is here to gather wealth. But it can't do that without a higher purpose. What do I mean by that? I mean that you quite literally will be blocked from making money if you don't have where to push them. Many people with a 55 will have desires for charity work. They will have
Yeah.
desires
Yeah.
for NGOs, for helping others. If you want to expand and help, for example, parents, you will find resources to expand this thing with ease. But when you're trying to make resources for yourself just because, it's gonna be hard because
Yeah.
abundance is a thing strictly for the spirit. It's just for you to keep growing, for you to keep experiencing. It's not for hoarding, it's not for things. Those things simply won't work. It's like sometimes I hear a lot of 55s say, I mingle with so much money, why can't I have something nice? I heard it so many times.
Yeah,
But
I've always managed to be able to get money regardless. I've never ever been broke, and there's always something will come to me, something will fall into my lap. I used to leave jobs because I wasn't happy there, and people would say, "You haven't got a job." I'm like, "It'll come. Something will come." Or um, I did more better at the divorce than I ever imagined, money wise. Yeah, I desperately would like more money, not for myself. I've got so many people I want to help, and
exactly.
especially a lot of animal rescue work and things like that, which I do a lot of as well. And I would just love to be able to just help them or to set up a rescue or do something like that. But I'm like, where's the money? Where is it?
My opinion with the 55, one, work in partnership, because as you can see, the 55 is on an open solar plexus. So it means you don't have constant access to this energy, only when this one gets highlighted by somebody else.
Right.
So
Okay.
you
So
don't have
somebody else needs to step in and to,
yes.
yeah, to shine the light on it as such.
Yes, exactly. So, one, you need a sort of partnership. I'm gonna look right now if you work better in partnerships or you work best solo or in small with little people. But
Yeah.
yeah, um, but somebody who highlights this, even if it's not a partnership per se, even if it's somebody who works with you, like somebody taking care of the animals or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
somebody who will highlight this and just get started, because this will make sure that the funds will come, just like you've experienced it for yourself.
Yeah.
Now, talking about your open centers, you have two completely open centers, which means, see, these ones have at least something hanging on them. The solar plexus has these two, and the root has the 52, but we have the ego here and the spleen here completely open. I can't even highlight them because there's
Mm.
nothing on them to highlight.
Right. Okay.
Now, the spleen is the center of intuition. Having it completely open, it means that you amplify other people's intuition. It means that your intuition is actually louder than people who have it defined, but it doesn't come consistent. Like other people with this defined will tell you clearly that they have clairvoyance, that they have clear hearing. They will know their intuitive abilities perfectly.
Yeah.
Yours are whatever comes, whatever is. You'll
Right.
just have to trust it. In all shapes of form, it can come
Yeah.
because you're basically amplifying from the outside. You can be amplifying even the transit. If the transit highlights this, you're just going to be intuitive in a certain way, like the transit puts it. For example, right now, yeah, see the transit has the 48. It doesn't connect, but it will show up as inner knowing. The 48 shows up as inner knowing, so it will
Yeah.
show up as you're amplifying your inner knowing. So your intuition doesn't come the same way every time. Sometimes you'll get clear audience, sometimes you'll get clear knowing, sometimes you'll get different things, like you said, automatic writing. It won't come in a consistent way in which you say, this is how I access my
No.
intuition.
Okay, that explains it because I had all that, and I even heard, guides would talk to me, and and then it's all gone. I'm like, what happened? It was almost like, oh look, here's a glimpse of this one, a glimpse of this one, a glimpse of this one, and then it all went. Where did they all go?
Yeah, it's not up to you what you're accessing. It's up to the person next to you. It's up to the program that what has in
Ah,
transit. The bad part, I have an open spleen as well. The bad part
no.
about having an open spleen is the fact that you have to trust it. You have to
Okay.
trust the way it comes. It might not come logically, it might not come in any way that makes sense. Most of the times intuition doesn't come logically. That's why it's intuition, not logic. But you know because we don't have a consistent way to access it, you can't say, this is, I'm clairvoyant, I can see, I can close my eyes and see my intuition whenever I wish. No, that does not work like that.
Okay.
And
So you can't access it in any point and say, okay, I want this to happen, because if it's not right for that particular intuition at that time, it won't happen. It's only
exactly,
right.
but what I can how I'm using my intuition usually is, um, I'm allowing it, one, and second, journaling, because
Okay.
regardless of how it comes, regardless if it comes visual or auditory or anything, you can, by writing, it's still, you're getting it,
Okay.
regardless how it comes. You might hear it, you might see it, you might get visuals, but when you're journaling and meditating, you're getting it at least.
So you're saying, so sometimes it will just, as you're writing, it will suddenly just come out and you're like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't think, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And the ego center being completely open. Now, this impacts your self esteem. This impacts a bit your self worth, which tracks considering you said you had an abusive marriage, because it says that you have to learn this. So
Yeah.
probably you've overcome it, because I'm going to give you also the wisdom of it. Each center has a wisdom. This center that I just talked about, the wisdom is the intuition that it's amplified and that we have to trust different ways. And the problem, I forgot to tell you this, it's that every single one of these seven gates are fears. There's fear of the past, there's fears of responsibility, there's fear of death, it's fears. And
Right.
when people come around you and they have certain gates, they amplify that fear. and you're suddenly next to somebody and talking about not repeating something from the past, and you've never thought about that before, but you're suddenly worried about, oh my gosh, what this thing if it happens again, you know.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because
That
I think I'm pretty um I've done a lot of work because I realized that I came from an abusive family. My dad was abusive as well. I was like the protector rather than the protected. So I protected my mom from my dad, even from a little child. So I feel that um, I have grown enough. So I met my husband, my ex, to break the cycle from abuse within the family. And I think that I now feel as though um, I don't have many fears, actually. I'm not scared about what's happened in the past. I've, I've basically, that part of my life has gone and I don't need to hang on to it anymore, but maybe subconsciously have it. Do you think?
so look at if you are still holding on to things, because this is a symptom of the spleen. Holding on to memories, holding on to things, they usually, when they don't fix it, when they don't step into wisdom, when they don't learn, because everything that's colored in the chart is who you are. Everything that's white is what you're here to learn.
Right.
So
Okay.
if we don't learn the lesson, you're gonna see, and you see it often in old people with an open spleen hoarding. I know,
Oh,
I saw it in my grandmother. She had an open spleen, and she had the most ideas, beautiful house, but every wardrobe had stored things from the First World War
oh.
onwards.
So that was like a subconscious fear that she had to hold on to things
Exactly.
just in case. Yeah, my granddad had that.
Yes. So that
His
that's
was food.
that's a show, that's a thing showing you where you're still holding on. I'm gonna fully admit I still have memory boxes on my wardrobe up. So
Ah,
yeah, and I
mm,
have an open spleen, so I recognize that. So yeah, that's how you can tell physically, you know.
right,
We're holding on to things as well. We're not just holding on to experiences, we're holding on to the things that remind us of those experiences.
right, okay.
So the open ego, the bad part is looking for validation. The bad part is feeling like you have to prove yourself. Being the protector completely tracks, because the open ego does not want to be the victim. The ego wants to prove themselves, and usually does incredible feats of bravery and incredible feats of power just to prove themselves. I had a client who, as a child, swam a triathlon just to prove herself to her dad that she's worth
Wow,
it, because her dad wanted a boy, not a girl.
wow,
So
yeah.
the the open ego, even though they might end up in victim situations, they are desperate to prove themselves, and they will fight it, and they will break it, and they will show the world. But it's a need to prove themselves.
So
Now,
is that why I am really, really independent and I have been from since very young? I'm like, well, I can't rely on anybody else, so I just do it for myself.
no, that's because you have a strong sense of identity. This is
Oh,
your fixed here center. This is the G center. This is determined by your, uh, 34, 20, 10. This
right.
weird channel here.
Yeah.
And this one is a strong sense of identity. This created probably the quite the opposite of it, you know. These two together would form normally in the old system the heart chakra, these two together. And when this one is completely open, it's a really need to prove yourself, and usually it connects with the parents. You either want to prove yourself to the parents or to a loved one, because, well, loved ones are just mimicking the connections we had in
Yes,
our
your parents.
family.
Yeah.
Now this one is completely open. The wisdom of this one is that you can see value. You are the people who can see real value. Like regardless if we're talking about value in relationships, regardless if we're talking about values in products or values in services, you will know when something is of value. You are not people who can be tricked by a online scam. That does not happen because you smell it
Yeah.
from miles away. These are people who are, in an ideal world, these people would set the price tag because they would know exactly how much
What it's
something
worth.
is worth.
Mm. Okay.
And when you said that you can see what's happening inside your partner, this is it.
Right.
This is kind of
Okay.
it. I always tell people who have an open, well, this combination, open ego and open solar plexus, that you can easily be a therapist because one, you take in people's value, you see them instantly in their highest version, and you can
Yeah.
tell
Yeah.
what's
It's
missing.
like an instant knowing. I'll meet somebody and I'll just be like, yeah, I know what you should do. And I'm like, I don't even know them. And of course, I don't say anything because I think I don't even know them yet.
Yeah, but you instantly see
Yeah.
their intrinsic value. You don't see what they're seeing because they might have their own issues of lack of self-worth and all of
Mm.
that, but you instantly see what they could be worth.
Okay. Yeah.
And the open solar plexus is basically being an empath.
Yeah.
It's basically meaning that you amplify emotions. You don't just take them in. Yes, you take them in, but you also amplify them. To give you an example, I know I discussed about this even in the course, but my two members of my family are emotional, and me and my daughter are unemotional.
Yeah.
And before I knew about human design, when my husband used to have his emotional wave and start swearing in the kitchen for no reason, I don't know, something
Exactly.
didn't
Yeah.
work
And just
out.
leave, and you know you can just leave him, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to go there and amplify that emotion and what's happening. And oh my God, he would be out of it in 5 minutes and I would be still agitated for the whole day.
Because you've carried it on. Yeah.
Because I picked it up and I amplified that to the point that it distorted me. I also have an open, my charts and your charts are very much
It
similar.
sounds very similar. Yes.
I'll show you my chart. This is my chart, this is your chart.
Oh wow.
So yeah, we're
Yeah.
a bit similar. So
Mm.
I have also an open solar plexus, and I honestly went to Emotions Anonymous because I was not in control of my emotions and I didn't know where they come from because they literally come from nowhere. It's not like I'm thinking
Because
about.
we're taking them on from somebody else rather than our own.
Yes. Yes, we're amplifying them from somebody else. And when we're not aware of, which was me before I understood how it works,
Yeah.
if we're not aware of it, then it feels like they're coming out of nowhere
Yeah.
because we're not thinking about something sad and we're suddenly sad. We are not doing something that makes us
It's
angry and
exactly,
we're
yeah,
suddenly.
exactly what, yeah, this is what happened with my partner when he was going through stuff, and he'd come and stay up here with me, and I'd be really happy before he came, and I was like, I like dancing around music. I'd been cooking and singing at the top of my voice, and the kids were like, well, my kids are older kids, but they, it's like, oh, mummy's off on one again. And then I was like, really happy. Yeah, he came in, and that I'm like, oh, I'm just doing something. I'll be with you in a minute. And he went and sat on the sofa, and I sat next to him. And within seconds, I felt this. I felt so low all of a sudden. I like hit depression, and I was like, what? What that? And then I realized I was taking on his feelings, his emotions, and
Yeah.
it was just like so realistic. I'm like, but hang on, I was just like running around happy as anything, having a great laugh and having fun. And then his energy brought mine down. And I did tell him, I said, when you're like this, I seem to be absorbing your energy, whether it's up or down, which most of the time it was down. And it was just like, I'm thinking I couldn't do this. I really couldn't cope with it because I didn't know what to do, because he would make me feel really low.
Up is also anger. So sadness is down, peace is
Mm,
down. You know, everything that calms us is a bit down, but anger is hype. It's emotionally hypeness. It's a pulse up.
yeah.
And because usually, depending on the channels that they have after anger, they move back into melancholy. So it moves
Yes.
fast up and then boom down.
Yes. That was definitely, yeah, that was him. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I now I feel them all. Now I recognize them. Now I can literally tell without looking at the chart if somebody is emotional, because I'll feel it. I'll
Yeah.
feel it. I'll go into the room and it's gonna hit me, and I'll be like, okay, I'm not that. I'm not emotional. And exactly
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
say,
No,
for
I
me,
do the same. I'll go in. Yeah. And I'll definitely feel it. It's like, whoa, what's going on here? And
yeah, and it's exactly like you said it, where I'm usually dancing and happy and joyful and perfect, because honestly, people with not with the solar plexus undefined, when we're by ourselves, we're cool as a cucumber. We have no issue with no one. We
yeah.
have
Yeah.
no problem whatsoever. We'd be dancing and singing and cooking all day long. We wouldn't do anything else, actually.
Yeah, I'm just happy. I'm just like, that's what I was thinking. Do I even want another partner? Because I'm really happy on my own. I like my own company. I'm really sociable, really friendly. And I, make friends wherever I go, and I talk to people wherever I go. But I'm like, oh, I'm actually quite happy on my own.
Yeah, exactly. And so the wisdom of this is quite literally is trying to starting to understand that the emotional waves, and trying to understand that the emotions cannot be bypassed in any way, not even for us. When somebody impacts us with their emotions, we have no choice but to feel it. We can rationally say it's not mine, but you're still gonna feel it.
Feel it.
If we
And how do
suppress
you
it,
how do you get out of that then? How do you get out of that feeling?
um, one, I allow it. I don't block it. I don't force
Mhm.
myself to feel good. I just allow it. And for me, for example, because in my relationship, the root is still open, yours is open, but even for my partner, his is open. So in the connection, it stays open. So
Right.
then I go ground, because that's a way out of of the relationship. It has none of our energy in it. So I go for a walk barefoot, or I do some
Right.
meditation with some grounding reason, or I
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
start dancing on something with more drums. But I do
Yeah.
something that grounds me, because that's the way out. If I would have your partner's chart, I could tell you if there's a specific way out. There's
Right.
relationships who have no way out, to be honest.
Yeah. He's gone through an awful lot, and that's why I was thinking, is he able to grow enough that we can be together? Um, that's the problem.
The thing is, emotions cannot be, especially by people who have emotional waves, they
Yeah.
cannot be bypassed. And there's 50% of them in the world, so it's 50-50. It's a it's a
Yeah.
coin toss if you find somebody emotionally defined or not. And also, most people, especially men, are used to suppressing emotions, are taught to suppress emotions. And when you
Mm.
don't feel them, they just fester. They don't go away. They have to literally feel them, go through them, experience them on a very bodily version. But most men resist that.
Yeah, because he's like literally, I can't remember. So he gets tired very easily and has to have naps. He's one of those people, and he gets worn
Projectors,
out. Sorry?
projector probably.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. And so he, um, struggles with that. So he'll do something and then he'll just be like, "Oh, I need to have a nap." I'm like, "Why? What's going on?" I'm, I'm still going, you know. And he's like, and he has to literally shut down and sleep, and then he feels better again. But it's, I mean, at one point he was doing where he was going through all everything, and it was really hard on him. He'd shut down. It'd be like for a week. He'd be like, he could barely get out of bed. I mean, he's 100 times better than that. But I'm like, how I don't want. I'm sorry, but I don't want a partner that's just gonna can't cope and just has to go to bed for a week and can't live with the world. I mean, okay, he's gone through a lot, but it was really hard for me to understand why do you need to just to go away and do that and just be block the world and just sleep.
Um, so yeah, I fully get you, but projectors usually go through that a week of sleep when there's, especially if he's an emotional projector, when they're
Yeah,
slightly depressed.
yeah,
It's a way of not showing it. It's a way of hiding it. It's a way
right,
that non-energy types show depression, because energy types like us, which we who have the motor center connected to the throat, energy types, when they we are depressed, we go in the opposite way, right? Busy hands are happy hands.
yeah,
We go in the complete opposite way, and we risk burnout. We are doing too much because that's what makes us feel good. We literally can't sleep because our motor centers won't allow us, and if we don't use
exactly.
our motor energy, it's just going to move in our head, and we're going to end up overthinking. So rather than being in bed and overthinking about my depression, busy hands are happy hands, so I'll just
Yeah,
keep on doing something. Now,
yeah,
for non energy, that's how depression looks for energy types. For non energy types, depression looks like a week of sleeping.
yeah. Like
It looks,
complete polar opposites.
yes, yes, exactly. Now, the root is a pressure center. You have one pressure center defined and one pressure center undefined. But
Mm.
usually, when we have pressure centers defined, it means that pressure is healthy for us. So, some sort of pressure, inspiration, or questions, curiosity is healthy for you. But the root has a different kind of pressure. The root is a motor center. So, the root wants to pressure to do. So you're gonna wake up, probably, especially if you have somebody around you, a child, a partner, whomever, with an pressure, with an defined root. I have my daughter. She actually still sleeps with me, so that's a bit chaotic. You
Yeah,
wake up directly into doing. I have to do this, and I have to do that, and I have to do this, and you
yeah,
can't stop doing until something is ready. Now, people with an open root center, and again, me included, we
yeah.
need to schedule personal time. Self care needs to be scheduled in, or it won't
Okay.
happen.
Yeah. Okay.
I can say for a year that I want to go to a spa. If I don't actually book it in my
Okay, it
calendar,
won't happen.
it won't happen. I can say that it can be something as simple like I don't know, I just want a ritualistic spa bath at home. If I don't
Mm.
plan it, if I'm not saying Wednesday at 7, it's never going to
Yeah.
happen.
No, that's the same as me. Exactly the same. Yeah.
And the wisdom of this is to stop. The wisdom of this is to prioritize stopping, because we are one, because of the sacral, we are capable to keep on doing. And
Oh
because
yeah.
of the open root, we have the pressure that I can't rest until it's done. I can't rest until it's
Yes.
finished.
Oh yeah. And I'll be doing about 10 things at the same time.
And yeah, manifesting generator. So that's the wisdom. The wisdom is stop,
Stopping.
the,
Okay.
slow down. Now, the funny thing is that with this one, you can actually sell things that are long term. Like you can sell subscriptions, you can sell things that are long term. Actually, you know what the root sells? Usually insurance.
Oh God, no.
the open root center, that's what they invented because yeah, it's long term. Um, but yeah, it's a pressure center that keeps. We have to remind ourselves to rest. We have to remind ourselves to prioritize other things, and it can feel quite, hard. I know it took me over a year to actually stop. Now I'm very good at stopping. Actually, I would like to get back more into activity because I'm stopping to think a lot because thinking
Right.
pressure is healthy for me. I have the exact same channel 6447 here.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think, yeah, see, it's inverted. You have the 64 unconscious and the 47 conscious. The 64 is red and the 47 is black, and I have them inverted. So yeah, the thinking pressure, the studying pressure, it's healthy for us. And usually, we get. I don't know about you, but I get sucked into it. If I have to research something, I'll get sucked into it for
Oh.
days.
Oh my
And
God. Yeah. It's just like, oh, I need to buy another book. And I've got about, God knows how many books. I'm like, I still haven't got through all of them because I'm like, oh yeah, that would be a good point. Let me read upon that part, and then I'll get another book about it or research that. And I'm like, oh my
exactly
God.
the same. I'm exactly the same. And do all your books have like little
Highlight.
post-it? Yeah, yeah. Because I
Yes.
have to cross-reference them. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly
Yeah.
the same. So I can be stuck in there for days. And that's why I say sometimes the root pressure is good because it kind of gets me to move into real stuff to actually do. So I stop studying because I can
Yeah.
get really stuck there.
Yeah. That's
And
the only thing. Like, I mean, literally, that will help me. I will. It's shutting the body down, but my brain's still going.
yes, yes, my brain is still going, I think, constantly. That's another thing. With these two defined, the brain never shuts up. The
Yeah.
good thing about it is the fact that it has a streamed line of thoughts. Like we can
Right.
follow a pattern from A to Z.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
with these two open, they don't have a streamline. They have like multiple voices in their heads. I actually make fun of them and ask them, is it noisy in there? We have a
Yeah.
clear streamlined of thoughts, but it never shuts up. At least for them it's noisy because they amplify others. They can literally read minds, basically. They amplify
Right.
others, so it gets noisy, but at least for them it shuts up when they're alone. For us it
It's like,
never shuts.
sometimes it's worse being on your own. It's like, oh yeah, I can think of this and I can do that and I can, oh yeah, but I'm like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
and
And
full
I'm really
conversation.
analytical, so I'll wing. It's almost like an engineering mind. So I grew up with mainly with my granddad was the one that was more like my dad. So he was an engineer and mechanic, and so I grew up not a typical girl. So I grew up underneath cars, fixing cars, because I wanted to know how things work. I grew up doing carpentry, building things and stuff. So when we have any tradesmen coming in, when I've had plumbers, and I'm like, oh, is that system, is that closed system? But what happens if you do this? And they look at me, I'm like, sorry, I just like to know how things work.
Yes. Yes, we pretty much have to know how everything works.
Yeah.
My sister calls me the encyclopedia of useless stuff because it's just something we have to know. But it usually saves us from many things.
Yeah. When I go to the garage, the mechanics, and I start, because they obviously think, oh, it's a female. And then I'm like, oh, but it could be that, because remember that part affects that one. And what about if it's that? And they just look at me. I'm like, oh, yeah, I used to do up cars. And then I don't get ripped off, obviously. And then they talk to me as though I'm a mechanic. And I'm like, okay, I don't understand to that level.
Yes, it happens to me too. That
Yeah.
but the the beautiful thing about the 6447 is that you don't and you also have just like uh, a very strategic mind. It's a
Yeah.
very active and strategic mind. And that means that you are categorizing everything that comes in, every information that you digest, because this is digestion. Every
Right.
information that you take in, you categorize it instantly, and it fits into their patterns and into their things. And when you go to the mechanic, you're going to know what information to take out. And when you go to
Yeah.
somewhere else, you're going to know what information is needed, and so on and so forth. It's very easy for you to take them out because it's very strategic, everything happening. Now, your cognition is taste and your digestion is open. That tells me that you only know if you like something after you tasting it. So
Yeah.
for you, you're gonna have to taste quite a lot of your food. It's not about how it looks, it's not about how it smells. You're gonna have a taste of it, and then you're gonna know if you're gonna eat more or stop
Yeah.
there.
Oh yeah. 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 I'll
Uh,
try anything.
Yes, you would try everything. That's an open taste. You don't have any blocks like you have to eat in the evening or in the morning or anything. Just that you have to taste it before
Yeah.
making sure that it's a yes from your sacral. Your specific environment is shores, which means you don't like to be high. I would suggest not living very high up in a building.
No, I have a fear of heights too.
Yes, your environment is shores, which means it's also meant to be quite humid. You're on an, I think it's quite humid there in UK.
Um, yeah. Yeah. Not as humid as other places though, isn't it? I know that.
Malta is
So,
extremely humid, and I have a dry environment, so I'm in
ah,
a completely wrong space for it.
right.
But yeah, shores means one, nature.
Yeah.
Um, and secondly, it's so you belong in nature and you belong at ground level nature. That's also mountains, and there's also caves. These are the three nature environments: shores, nature, caves. And you have shores.
So shores doesn't anything to do with water, as in beach, sea. That's
It would be beneficial for you if you'd live close to an actual shore to actually see the horizon, but it's not about exactly water, it's about being
okay.
able to see the line of horizon.
Okay.
Your motivation is fear. Now, fear is the most strongest motivation that ever existed. Fear is what moves us faster than anything. If you think about it, deers run when they're afraid. They are perfectly
Yeah.
happy standing, eating. The moment fear kicks in, they know what to do.
Yeah.
Now, how does fear motivation works? It's not the fact that you're afraid, it's that you know exactly what to do to avoid what you're afraid of.
Okay.
You know exactly what to do to avoid, like the deers, like I just said, to avoid a negative outcome.
Yeah.
when you when there's a negative outcome, it's actually a good thing for you because you instantly know what to do. When there's no panic monster, you're kind of chilling, not doing much.
Oh
What
yeah.
but
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
there's the
In
panic
any
monster,
emergency, I'm very, very calm.
yes,
Yeah.
any panic monster that kicks in, even if it's a deadline, even if it's an emergency situation, you know exactly what to do. It's
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
have a map.
Yeah.
Your sense is meditation, which means you feel yourself mostly and you can connect with yourself mostly within meditation.
Yeah.
And transference. So when we you go into transference, that's when you know it's not you. That your transference is need. What does need mean is the transference of fear, and need means exactly like it says, I need to do this. Somebody, society tells you you need to blah blah, you need to whatever. When you move into the need, I need to do something, that's not you. You don't need to do anything. The only thing that you need to do is basically survive. Your view is survival. As
Yeah, I
long as
don't like being told that I need to do something. I just it instantly puts me on the back foot. I'm like, no, no, don't tell me I need to do something. I'll do it if I want to.
exactly, and also when you get into that, even when you push yourself, I need to do something, you are going to face resistance, like it's not gonna work. I Even if it's something as simple as, oh my gosh, I need to eat, it's not that you want to eat, it's not that if you wanted to eat, you would have been already in the kitchen cooking. The
Yeah,
fact
yeah,
that you
yeah,
thought I need to eat, you already go to the kitchen, open the fridge, there's nothing there you like, slam it again, go to the
exactly.
cupboard. The moment that you impose to yourself, I need to eat because I haven't eaten anything today, that's your logical mind saying, oh, I haven't eaten today, so I need to, even though my body is not asking for it.
Yeah,
So when I go to it, I experience resistance. It goes the same in all planes. I need to meet this friend. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling guilty. I haven't met her in so long. I need to meet her. And then everything possible happens. You're not going to meet you, and
yes,
it's not
yeah.
going to
Things
work.
just come up. Yeah, I have things that happen. Yeah, and it's just like, oh, maybe I'm not meant to do this. Yeah, yeah,
Your view being survival means that you know exactly what's needed to survive. And just like you told me at one point that everybody's freaking out of the news and you're like completely calm about it,
yeah,
that's a specific survival view because it's like it doesn't matter. We're gonna survive. Like
yeah, yeah,
the world can burn, so what? you know?
yeah. It's okay. This is life's over. Next one.
Yeah. So yeah, your profile. I think I discussed a bit the profile in the course. I didn't go that deep into it, but your
Mm,
profile being a 3-5 with a 5 unconscious tells me that the projections that are coming to you are you're not gonna recognize them. You're not gonna see them. So people are projecting on you that you can help them with XYZ, and you're not expecting it. You said so that people are asking
yeah,
you to help with XYZ, and you say, I don't know to that level.
yeah.
Yeah, they're already seeing you there. They're already
Okay.
seeing you done. You've already done it in their head. You already saved them. You already, the fifth line is the savior. It's the heretic. So usually it gives things that they don't actually like,
Yeah.
but they are seeing them as the savior. Oh, you're here now, everything's fine if you're here. That's the kind of feeling that people project on the fifth line. Now there's also a bit of uncomfort. My son has the 3-5 profile. There's a bit of uncomfort with expectations, and I'm seeing it that, for example, for him it creates anxiety when people expect him to perform at a certain level, and it's not that he can't, it's that he doesn't want to. That comes a
It,
bit
it,
of anxiety to even meet that person, because there's gonna be a question about it, there's gonna be expectations about it. He
right.
also
So the
has it
external
unconscious.
pressure is causes the issue rather than knowing, well, I can do it, but it's because somebody's putting on that pressure onto you. You suddenly doubt
Yes.
yourself. Yeah.
Not he's not that exactly that he's doubting himself, he's literally doesn't want to do it, and the
Right.
uh, fact that he doesn't want to disappoint that person, it keeps him in a sort of limbo. He didn't say
Right.
no specifically,
Yeah.
but he didn't do it either.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a bit
Okay.
of a situationship. And the third line, which is your conscience. Now the third line is basically designed for this world. Is perfect. Yeah, it's a trial and error. Yeah, sometimes it sucks. The third line, what's funny about it, the story that Rauru who shared about the third line, it's always going to depend on when you meet them. If you meet them at the beginning of their process when they're young, they know nothing. Don't take advice from them. No, no, no. They have to pass through life and they have to make their own mistakes
Yeah.
so they can actually give you advice.
Yeah.
Be- because the third line doesn't give you advice what to do, it gives you advice what not to do. Oh, don't go there. I've been there, and there's a cliff at the end of that road.
Yeah.
There's no point in going there.
So I've got that.
Yes, you have that as your personality, as your conscience part, the third
Oh,
line.
yeah.
It's the third line here. 3, 3. And this is the martyr in the sense that they make the mistakes first. They will tell you what not to do. You went through grew up in an abusive family and had an abusive marriage. You can tell people what red flags to look for. You
Yeah.
know what
Yeah,
not to do,
exactly.
but you have no idea what to do. Is this partner good for me? I don't know. As long as there's not these red flags, go for
Exactly.
it.
I'm not used to somebody being very nice to me, but I was like, hang on, what's what?
Like,
Yeah.
you're not here to give advice, and you rarely will give advice to people on what to do with their lives. You're like, everybody can do whatever they want
Yeah.
as
I
long
will
as you don't do
suggest
that.
and say, oh, but you're really good at that. But it's up to you whether you want to go ahead with it, you know?
But yeah, you can say you're really good with that because you can see their value here with the.
Yes.
Yes, but mostly the third line is do whatever you want, try it out. Yeah, sure, do that, try it. Yeah, sure, do
Yeah.
that, try it. But they will tell you what not to do. I don't try that. I already tried it and this is how it goes.
Um,
And many people will come to you for that type of advice.
yeah. Yeah. I have people that come to me like for that. Yeah. But then they don't want to listen. They ask me and they're like, oh, but you know, and then they go away and they don't do it, what I've suggested, because they're not ready to do that yet.
You have, I'm just looking at a bit of my how the alchemical part, because you have your Saturn, which is the hardest. I don't know, in alchemy Saturn is literally lead. If you know alchemy, changing lead
No.
to gold,
Right.
Saturn is lead. And you have hexagram 36 there. So I'm looking a bit at hexagram 36 because it's if you see 36, it's here, and you have it twice. You
I
have it
can't
in
see you.
Saturn. It's here.
I can't see your cursor's gone right at the very bottom. I can't see it on mine.
Oh, let me see. Um, so the solar plexus, which is the triangle on the right,
Oh, okay, the green. Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah.
has the 36 here.
Oh, okay. Right.
All
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
So you have it on an undefined center, so you're not going to have constant access to it. And it's the compassionate sage, is the archetype of the compassionate sage. And it says that you blend experiences into wisdom. It moves from pity to compassion. So you might have, because it's on a center that's not normally defined, you might experience it here and there, so not consistently. One, and secondly, it might actually show up as self pity at some point because it's on the unconscious side.
Right.
And it has to move to self compassion. I mean, the pity doesn't disappear, shadows don't disappear. We're not healing shadows. I don't like that speech. We
Yeah.
have to integrate them and see how we benefit from it. Because even from self pity and even from pity for others, we benefit in a certain way. To show pity for somebody else is, in a
Mm.
way, to show compassion. Yes, it's a bit more selfish because it puts you in a different light, but it's still similar. So this moves from pity to compassion, and this is where you're gonna have the hardest time to disengage. Literally feeling between pity and compassion for somebody. It's it's the difference between yeah, feeling sorry for them or understanding where they come from.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's going to show up over and over and over again in your life. Probably with every friend, every connection, you're going to feel pity for them in some situations, and you're going to have to move it through compassion.
Yeah.
That's the thing that will show up more often. And the more it shows up, the more I would suggest you integrate how you feel pity about somebody else, to integrate it in you as well. So I
Right.
feel pity for them because they are still, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, have I fully dealt with that? Am I still feeling pity for myself about around that,
Okay.
you know?
Okay. So it's like a mirror, maybe.
Yes, like a mirror. Most people are mirrors. Even human
Yes.
design, everything is a mirror. But yeah, this is a little bit. I always introduce at the end the Saturn, because Saturn is lead and Sun, your 20, is gold. And in alchemy, we move from lead to gold. And I start with understanding what the lead is, because that's where the magic happens. We have to transmute that. We have to transmute the pity. We have to transmute the compassion. We have to move from that place through the gate of the now is the voice alchemy, the alchemy of the voice, to speak
Right.
about, your compassion, to speak about what you believe in.
Yeah.
This is the movement. But if we don't fully understand what we're feeling sorry about, we won't be able to express it. That's what your design basically wants: to express compassion, to express what you feel, to express what you think it should be done. Like you said, I'm completely against authority. That comes exactly this, sometimes you felt pity for somebody being abused by authority, and you
Yeah.
moved to speaking and being completely against authority. That's a
Yeah.
specific example of this. But that's one, more will show up. You might feel
Okay.
pity for people stuck in scarcity, and you will talk about how to get to abundance, or so on and so forth. Every time you feel pity, it's supposed to go all the way up.
Okay. So it's helping them as well as me at the same time.
Yes, it's helping you more because it's your expression, but your expression is partly selfish, so for your own gain, that's the shadow, and your expression is part light, which is for the benefit of others, which is also part of the same thing. I mean, we're all light and shadow, it's not one or
Yeah.
the other.
Yeah. Yeah. Because now I know sometimes when I'll do something and I'm thinking, and I even stop myself and I will say, "Hang on, Sharon, that's coming from a selfish point of view. You know that you're going to gain from that." And then I'm like, I have a go at myself and say, "Well, no, it should be that you'll want wholeheartedly want to be able to help that person, not because of what you might be able to gain from it, but because you want to help that person." So I do have an internal dialogue going on.
Yes, that's exactly the Saturn. What you described right now, and it's gonna happen constantly because it's your Saturn. I mean, Saturn is what grounds us in this reality. It's like Kronos in the the time, right? The bounding of time. It's
Right.
what grounds us here. And Saturn doesn't leave us alone. I have gate 10. I have the gate of self love. I have to hype myself in the mirror every day. That's what I have in Saturn. That's what I have to do. An internal monologue. Your internal monologue is exactly about this. Are you helping them out of pity, or are you helping them out of compassion? It's
Yes. Okay.
always gonna go on and on
Right.
and on.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. I do stop myself and realize that. That's why I question myself where I'm at. Where is it coming from?
And I want to just bring you the awareness that it's not wrong to be selfish. If we would only be compassionate, and if we'd only be in the light all the time,
Yeah.
we'd burn out.
Yeah. Well, you say, isn't it? There has to be some ego because we're just human. Um, and there is ego in the human form, isn't it? And it's just learning to use it in a way that is helping other people.
I'm a strong believer that the shadow is not negative. I'm a strong believer that, let me just read you the shadow. So
Mm-hmm.
the shadow of the 64 is pity. Now, if I read you the characteristics, the reactive and repressed, you're definitely gonna see negative points, but the reactive and the repressed characteristics are unconscious behaviors when we don't accept the shadow of pity. I'm pretty sure that when I read it just without the characteristics, you're not going to feel anything about it. So the 36 is the key to overcoming suffering, and there's a willingness to see humanity in yourself and others. It's also the energy for sometimes lacking compassion and energy for others, is setting boundaries and not holding yourself to impossible standards. Right? There's nothing
Yeah.
bad about it.
Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah. Yeah.
But when it goes into reactive or repressed characteristics, repressed characteristics are avoiding of suffering, avoiding to engage with the suffering of others, shutting it down, fearing that you will be overwhelmed if you hear what they're going through,
Right.
repressed emotional response,
Yeah.
inability to respond with sympathy, self neglect. These are negative, right? These are clearly
Yes.
negative.
Yeah.
But these are just behaviors that we have when we suppress, when we don't set the limit, like it said at the beginning.
So
Yes,
it's not because like that's a classic. What I said about my partner, I said, because I had enough of him all the time. Everything was negative, and he was, saying what happened, and there was no, and it was just drowning in negativity from him. And I was like, I can't deal with this anymore. I'm trying to help you here, but then I found that I was literally drowning in his negativity, and that's when I decided, no, there's going to be a boundary here, and I'm sorry, I'm not your therapist. I can't take this on. You have to deal with it yourself because it's affecting me. And then
yes,
I felt really bad because I was like, oh, I'm being really selfish here because I'm doing this for myself and I know he's suffering. I wanted to be there for him, but I said, it's just excessive. But then I was like, no, actually, I've gone through enough in my life and I do want to set a boundary. And if I'm going to have a partner, he has to step up enough that it's I'm happy to be around him. It's not drowning in sadness constantly. So
it's it's not unhealthy to set boundaries. It's not unhealthy to be selfish. That's what the shadow actually wants. The shadow is selfish in itself because it's
yeah,
for
it's
us.
self-preservation to a point, isn't it?
It's completely self-preservation. I
Mm.
tell people often when we do enough shadow work, it starts feeling like when we're in our shadow, like we're coming back home after a hard day of work. That's how it starts feeling, and we stop blaming it. Yeah, I have, and you have them too. I mean, the shadow of the 34 which you have in your earth is being a bully. Eh, I mean, the sovereign, like I said in the course, the sovereign, the king,
Yeah,
when it's in his shadow, he's a bit of a bully. He's a bit of a mean person. But at the same time, I'm not going to say that I'm not mean. Yeah, I'm cut through sometimes, and sometimes I'm, saying it as it is.
yeah,
But
this is
for all
exactly
the
it. And not everybody can take it though that way, and that's when they say, "Well, you're just a bit too blunt, Sharon. You just, you don't say it without thought." And I'm like, "But what's the point of hiding the truth?"
yes, but also it's also a comfort for us. It is a bit selfish, but for all the times that we have to be polite, for all the times where we have to, I don't know, we go to the some office and we have to talk in a certain way, and we go to another one and we have to, the whole social etiquette when we are with people who are close by to us and all of that, we drop in our shadow. Yeah, we're blunt. Yeah, we might be a bit cut through, but if I'm not safe, not even here, to be in this zone, in this selfishness, then where am I safe to be this,
Yeah, yeah, totally
Because
agree. Yeah,
it also takes that. It takes going back into our shadows, having our, obviously not to hurt, obviously not reactive, because the reactive characteristics are usually the ones that burn the others, the ones that hurt the other. For example, for the compassionate sage, for the 36, your Saturn,
Yeah.
Uh, Reactive shadows is condescending attitude, overwhelming sympathy, and invasive helpless, not helplessness, helpfulness,
Right.
helping too much, helping too
Yes.
much, unsolicited advice. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that one can bother people, but
Yeah.
at, setting boundaries won't. An integrated sense of pity and this archetype, an integrated sense of both pity and compassion can set boundaries, can be a bit selfish at time, but it's not gonna be condescending, it's not gonna be invasive, it's not gonna take over the other, it's gonna manage it, it's gonna
Mm.
set boundaries, it's gonna say, okay, I can help, but this much. Okay, I can interfere, but till here. I can
Yeah.
help with this, just this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the risk with the compassionate sage is that you're gonna burn out. It's gonna be a lot of people who you're gonna meet that you're gonna feel pity for, and you're gonna feel like you have to help them in some way.
Oh, I
And if you
know. I know. Yeah. No, but I have realized that I know that that's what happened. I take on the too much, and then I'm like, they're just taking, and I'm just giving, and it's an unhealthy
yes, that's the
interaction.
reactive. Yes, that's the reactive. The reactive behavior of the same thing. The repressed behaviors are usually eating at our self-esteem, that we're repressing it, so I describe it as not base, alkaline. Yeah.
Hmm.
The repressed characteristic, describe it as alkaline. It's corrosive.
Yeah.
Slowly in time it corrodes our sense of self.
Yeah.
If you're not looking at how others suffer, if you're repressing what you feel about others, if you're not expressing what you feel from them, coming from them, if you're neglecting yourself and just end up caring about others in
It's
caregiving,
it's unhealthy. Yeah. Yeah.
that's going to eat
It
up
doesn't.
your self-esteem over time. But the other one, the reactive, is acidic. It burns
Yeah.
others, it burns bridges, it burns relationships. And usually I tell people that the alchemy happens when you look at both of them, when you look at your behaviors, how you repressed yourself, how you destroyed yourself, because we all do it, we all hurt ourselves.
Yeah.
And when you look at how you hurt others at the same time, you're honest with how you hurt yourself and you're honest with how you hurt others. And even how maybe you took pleasure in hurting others, how it benefited you to hurt them, then an alchemical process happens within us, just like between alkaline and acid. When you combine them, what happens? They combine, and it's water and salt. Water is emotion, it flows, we just have to feel it, it just gets out. That's
Yeah.
all that we've been carrying with that. And the salt, it's our shadow, but it's uninfluenced by this. There's no reactivity. There's no alkaline. There's no acid. There's nothing. It's our pure shadow, our pure selfish aspect. In its selfishness in its purest form, let's say. Selfishness
Mhm.
does not affect others.
Yeah. To a point, as long as
Yes,
you do it in a certain way. Yeah. And it
yeah,
is coming
exactly.
from a good place.
It's coming from an honest sense of
Yeah.
boundaries. It's not coming to hurt or to
Yeah.
minimize others. So let me know if you have any questions. You can also message me anytime. I'm gonna give you the recording
Thank you.
tomorrow because I have to put the little one to sleep now.
Yeah, of course. It's been way over.
And
Yeah.
I'm also gonna give you this. So this is, I'm not doing it. I'm just so. the app does it automatically. It creates a PDF with all the information, including
Oh,
business
okay.
information and everything. I will show it to you
Wow.
right here, and I will send it to you by email. It's not something I'm doing, it's just something that, yeah, I get with
Thank you.
this
Thank
application.
you. I really appreciate it. It's amazing, isn't it, this stuff? Wow.
So here you have, like I said, your sense, your motivation, everything written, your chart, and then here you have your unconscious with red and your conscious separated, and your cross of incarnation. What's next here? This is your chart again. This is your sleeping chart. If this is your dream rave, I'm not very good at reading the dream rave. And this is all your gates. So every gate we
Everything will be on
discussed,
there.
yeah, it's all detailed.
Brilliant. I
So I'm
enjoy
gonna send
looking
you
at it
this
and
as
working
well.
it out.
But I'm gonna send them to you tomorrow after I upload. I
No, of
upload it
course, of
on
course.
YouTube unlisted, and I'll put the link in the mail.
Thank you so much, Daria. I really
So
appreciate it. Thank
I
you
would
so much.
I would like you to, if you can, to tell me, confirm when you receive the emails, because the
Yeah.
last two clients I had a problem with the email and it never arrived. It's from my drive. I cleaned it up, but I don't know.
Okay.
It doesn't have enough space.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Brilliant.
the
Thank you so much. And you've
thank you.
done way over your time. I
No
think,
worries. I enjoyed
thank
the
you so
conversation as well.
much. Thank you. So
Bye.
like-minded souls.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.